Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday the 8th of May 2017. Now, you've probably seen the news, haven't you? France, of course, is now under banker control, as with most countries, but it's becoming more and more overt, isn't it? Here's a headline from CNBC. Macron symbolises work in progress, in quotes there, for European politics. Goldman Sachs, that's what they said. It says Goldman Sachs is saying that Macron symbolises work in progress for European politics. So they're very pleased to be at their in their position that they've got now. You know, with another. Well, he's Rothschild, ex-Rothschild, isn't he? That's what Macron is. Rothschild. Interesting to think about Rothschild. If you go to Wikipedia and you look up Benjamin Disraeli, you'll notice he looks very much like Lord Rothschild. And when I pointed that out to somebody, that other person, individual, said, yeah, and also looks like Christine Lagarde and Theresa May. We're being taken over by a family, it seemed. Anyway, so that's France. Of course, the good news of that is that fewer and fewer people are voting. Fewer and fewer people are voting now. They're recognising that politics makes no difference. They're recognising, as I'll talk about shortly, that politics in itself is its own sort of religion. Through it comes the international corporate government that is there basically to take away your position as a man or a woman in this world and turn you into a human resource, something to be sold and bullied and controlled arbitrarily without any reference whatsoever to the true law. We also hear, didn't we, this weekend that in Hanover there was an incident. They found, apparently, it's what they said, they found 5 RAF bombs unexploded, so they evacuated 50,000 people. As far as I'm concerned, this is yet another false flag. A sort of drill to find out how compliant people are under the corporate authorities, to see how many they could get moved and shifted about, with what I believe to be a pretense of 5 bombs. I mean, maybe it would have been believable if it was just 1 bomb, but 5. But it seems to me it's yet another bit of dog training going on. Meanwhile, in Great Britain, we had, in this country, we had some elections, local elections, that proved what I predicted just recently, as I predicted with Macron, but just recently also with Theresa May marching on to be Prime Minister so we can get this last government in until this, to finish the whole story, to get this country under complete corporate control. And we're doing that. You know, the local elections are a good measuring stick, and it shows that they're going towards a conservative landslide. But again, fewer and fewer people in this country are voting. And of course, when you don't vote, and when you unregister to vote, and when you start living according to the law of this land, then you're presenting them with a vote of no confidence. But I don't really want to use that word vote, because the word vote is rooted in the Latin votum, which is about paying allegiance to a god, and that's what politics is. Politics is another god. It's a false god. It's another one. A man cannot serve 2 masters. You cannot be a Christian and be associated with politics. In fact, men like John McDonnell, who is an MP, he's a shadow chancellor, he's in the Labour Party. He confirmed his allegiance to Marx in an interview yesterday. And here is a book that I'd like to refer you to. It's called Marx and Satan by Richard Wurmbrand. Marxist work is very well known for being anti-Christ, anti-Christian, and what is our constitution? It's based in Christianity. It's based in the Bible. That's why there is a Bible in every public building, every court. So what's he doing? Well, he's openly working against our country, isn't he? His God is this, what Marx and his helpers presents us with. And it is nothing to do with our Christian God, and therefore it's nothing to do with our law and the constitution. Therefore he is in a very strong position undermining it, I would say. Another reason why it's very questionable, isn't it, that politicians can be Christian. We got Theresa May, of course, breaking the law. We know about that. That's happened. We talked about that. But we've also got Tim Farron. Tim Farron is he's the leader of the Liberal Democrats. He's recently said that homosexuality, well, he says gay sex is not a sin, he says, anymore, even though he claims to be an evangelical Christian. Let's have a look at what the Bible says about gay sex. For example, let's just go to Leviticus 18:22. You shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination. Let's have a look at let's have a look at Leviticus 20:13. If a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death, it says there. And then Romans, for this reason God gave them up to dishonourable passions, for their women exchanged natural relations for those that are contrary to nature. And the men likewise gave up natural relations with women and were consumed with passions for one another, men committing shameless acts with men and receiving in themselves the due penalty for their error. What else does it say? Or do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? You know, the aeon. Do not be deceived. Neither the sexually immoral, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor men who practice homosexuality. 1 Corinthians 6:9. You cannot be a Christian in politics. And another thing is, it's a grave sin, I would say, or a violation, or something that breaks us away from God, breaks us away from Christ, to rewrite the Bible in your own image, which is clearly what Tim Farron is doing, and what a lot of these other people are doing as well, who claim to be in politics, who claim to be Christians, politicians who claim to be Christians. They're writing the Bible in their own image. They're ignoring bits of it. Politics is a religion. Some people say, in politics you get people saying you shouldn't have religion anything to do with politics. Politics is a religion. I refer you to Marx and Satan. It is the religion of the doctrine that man is God. That's what it is. It is also now consistent with the corporate takeover of the world, the dead entity takeover of the world, the big deceit that men and women are legal fictions. That's what politics is about. Politics in this country is about UK PLC, which is a corporation being channeled, an international banker-run and affiliated corporation that is being channeled through our government with the help of these so-called politicians. Dead entities being siphoned through our government, taking away the freedom that you have, your natural freedom that you have, and also the prosperity that comes with it. It's also, politics is also the religion of playing God. With the NHS and all their vaccines and the social engineering and the genetic engineering and the geoengineering. Politics is a false religion. Politics is against God's law, totally and surely against God's law. And those who are in it use it to serve their purposes, and they trample on the innocent and they trample on the vulnerable. That's what they do. And there are many vulnerable now because there are so many people who have not been taught the law, not being taught about legal fictions, not being taught the fraud that continues and continues and is even pushed in our courts. The fraud there is extraordinary. You have the administrative courts that have no authority, etc, etc, etc. You've got judges trying to turn you into legal fictions, not treating you as a man or a woman. Have a look at criminal cases in the newspaper. I looked at one the other day, and you'll notice the victim goes in and out of legal fiction to being a woman, you know, the name of the woman and then legal fiction. Those who perpetrated the crime in the criminal courts are always called their name, you know, what their name is called is always used. So say, for example, their name's Daniel Bunn or something like that, it would refer them to Daniel as Daniel Bunn, not Mr. Daniel Bunn. Or in capitals, as you have in the administrative courts when you are a legal fiction, because they want the man, you see the difference. Criminal cases, they call you by your name, or by what your name is called, without the title, because it's the man who's up there. All the others, you've got a legal fiction, and you only are under their authority if you accept that legal fiction position. That legal fiction is a dead entity. Do you want to be a channel to a dead entity? Who is affiliated and closely associated with death? It's the very same as who Christ destroys at the end of days. The one who divides us, the one who separates us from God. Anyway, politics certainly is a religion, and voting is certainly coming from that Latin votum, pay allegiance to a god, and as far as I'm concerned, it is against God's law. And as far as I am concerned, anyone who partakes in politics, none of them can claim to be truly Christian, a true follower of the law, a true follower of Christ, and a true implementer of the law. No man can serve two masters. There are many masters in politics. There's the corporations, there's the lobbyists, there's the Freemasons, there's Common Purpose, who don't use that name when they train people anymore, and so on. Man cannot serve two masters. And I do know that in Freemasons you follow the lodge, what the lodge leader says. Whatever your feelings about something, you follow him. Got plenty of Freemasons in our government. Plenty of them. It's not a government, it's not a true government, it's fake. True government will come when the epiphania happens, when we have the kingdom of God, which is God's sovereign rulership through Christ here in the nations in this world. Nations, independent nations. Independent nations. Anyway, so that's politics, that's John McDonnell, that's Tim Farron and everybody else. Now, I want to move on to something else. I heard in the media, this chap called, his title, you know, is the Archbishop of York, and his name is called John Sentamu. Apparently he's most reverend. I heard about him in the media the other day, and he was saying that religious belief it doesn't matter what the religious belief is of anyone who's going for office. In a way you could say that's correct, because their religion, they mark out their religion by voting. You know, they can say they're this or that, but it doesn't really matter because they're going into politics. But he said it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what they are. How can we see into their soul? Well, I ask him, how can you see into anybody who's in his church, in official positions? How can you see? They have to be Christian, don't they, to be part of the Christian church? But he's saying it doesn't matter what religion you are if you're taking up a position of office in this country. He says it's okay, it doesn't matter. How can you look into someone's soul, he says. But again, how can you look into anybody who claims a position of authority in his church? How do you know that they don't follow some other authority? For example, the Archbishop of Canterbury. Who's his God, one wonders? Does he really follow Christian teachings? And you can ask that of many of them. Many of them who voted to have women as priests and so on, when it says very clearly in the Bible they should not be permitted to do so. Here's a quote from one of Archbishop of York's articles. Religious belief is the wellspring for the virtues and practices that make for good individuals, strong relationships and flourishing communities. In Britain, these embedded virtues are not unique to Christians, but they have their roots in the Christian history of our four nations. If treated as partners in the project of serving the country, partners, I mean, this is all the communitarian language, the Agenda 21 language, partners in the project of serving the country, the churches and other faiths have much to contribute to a deep understanding and outworking of the common good. It is true, religions do tend to give people a framework to work in, but the point is this is a Christian country and the law of the land is rooted in Christianity. That's why we find a Bible in every single court and public building. There is a Bible because that is the law they're leaning on. Our constitution is rooted in that law. It is God's law through Christ that is implemented by man's common sense and reason that ends up being the common law. Our constitution is rooted in that. How can anybody, any man or woman in an official position do their job properly if they are not Christian in spirit? Well, of course they can't. Be like saying you have a Muslim as leader of the Church of England. Be ridiculous. But this Archbishop thinks it doesn't matter what religion they have. Well, again, no, it probably doesn't, because we're talking about politics, and whoever's in politics is following another god, as we know. But in an ideal situation, anybody who has an official position in our country should be Christian. That should be absolutely clear. Because this country could not work in any other way. But now you've got archbishops saying it's okay. You've also got this Archbishop of York going on about how people should vote, how important it is to vote, so that they can go into this dark system, this corporate system, this political system that actually stands against God through the division of its authority, into little parties who try to sell people, who steal from one and to pay for the vote of another. That's what they do. We're going to do this by taking it off him. We promise you this. Vote for us. Give us power. Your power. We're going to keep you down in corporate land. Because that's what we're pushing through UK PLC. So, I believe we can dismiss anything to do with what Archbishop of York says, because it isn't in accord with the law and it's not in accord with the truth, I believe. Because if it were, he would be expounding the truth in the Bible and what it actually says. He'd also have an idea of what politics is. As I've said before, it's rather like breaking up that nice pure beam of white light through that prism, that triangle, and you break it up into the spectrum. Things are broken up, political priorities are broken up, people are set opposite each other, people are given sold ideas beyond themselves that undermine families, undermine countries, undermine morals, undermine everything. With the proper application of this law in this country, which is, of course, the common law, with that in this country applied properly and thoroughly, it would be freedom for all, and it would also be prosperity, a natural level of prosperity. I was reading something from Isaiah the other day. It says, "Hearken, you heavenly beings, and give ear, you earthly beings, for Yahweh has spoken." And this is what Yahweh says. "I've nourished and brought up sons, and they've rebelled against me. Don't have to go too far to see that in our country, do we? Or in our common law nations, our common law countries, I should say. The ox knows its owner, and the ass its master's crib. But Israel does not know, my people do not consider. And I believe Israel is those countries that are based in the common law, which is God's law implemented through man's common sense and reason. It is a very practical way of implementing God's law. It's rooted in the Bible. That's why I think this collection of countries that are common law countries are Israel. I might be wrong, but I think it's a good way of giving you the point. But Israel does not know, my people do not consider. They don't consider, do they? They want the next quick buck. They want the next fix. They care not about the law, or do they? In fact, I speak to a lot of people, don't I? I speak to a lot of people and they are very, very interested in the law. And there's a lot of people out there that the ordinary man or woman, the very ordinary man or woman, the one who's not trying to shaft somebody, is very interested in the law and very interested in the truth of how our country is run. These are the innocent, these are the vulnerable, the ones that are taken advantage of. Now, let me continue. Isaiah 1 now to 1:4. Violating nation. A people heavily burdened with iniquity. A seed consisting of evildoers, sons who are corrupters. I'll let you decide who they are. They've forsaken Yahweh himself. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel to anger. They have turned their backs. This is the political system. You've got people like Tim Farron trying to rewrite the Bible, dead against God's will. You've got people like John McDonnell saying he loves Marx, when he might as well be following Cain around. He probably is. Why should you be beaten any longer? You will revolt no more. The whole head is sick and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot to the head there's no soundness in it. Only wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed or bound up nor mollified with oil. Your country is desolate. Your cities are burned with fire. Foreigners devour your soil in your presence. And it's desolate, as if overthrown by foreigners, etc. You go and read it. It sort of rings true now, doesn't it? And we mustn't hold ourselves and attack anybody, be they foreigners or homosexuals or anything, because as Christ said, didn't he, judges, you'll be judged. But what we have to do is recognise what's going on in this country. We've got the clergy plan that's about injecting our country with foreigners. It's the same plan that's applied to Northern Europe. That's why it's being undermined and destroyed. The clergy, they have the clergy prize, I think, in the EU, don't they? Can you see that what is happening in this country? And it says, you've ignored me. You've ignored the law, basically, because he's talking about people heavily burdened with iniquity, evildoers, corrupters. We are now seeing the fruits of all this all around us. We are seeing the fruits of it with judges trying to force people to take on the position of a dead entity. This is a violation against my religion, ladies and gentlemen. Forcing a man or a woman to be a conduit to a dead entity. And again, I remind you, what is dead? The dead connected to? What's death connected to? Again, yes, of course, it is connected to Satan, who is destroyed by Christ at the end of days. No wonder we have such a bad situation in our world at the moment. Ignorance, of course, is everywhere, but it's not always the fault of the ignorant. There's many people just going out there as much as they can to find out what they can, to learn their position, to learn the truth of the Bible as well, to learn the truth of our law, and to learn the true origin of prosperity and freedom. And it has nothing to do with corporate government, or government, I should say, that's been taken over by a giant parasite of corporations, corpse orations. Now, I just want to say to you that on May the 20th, that's when I'll be doing my talk. It's going to be a talk. It's going to last for about an hour and a half. It's going to start at midday. The details are going to go on the website, davidcame.com and commonlawnationsalliance.com. It's going to be in Sherborne. There is no fee for this talk, but it'd be nice if there was a donation. But it would be nice if there were a donation to help pay for the room. That's it. All I want is for you people out there to recognise the power of the law in context with the world at the moment, so that you can begin to live a true life, and that is as a true man or true woman. So you can see what's before you, so you can help yourself avoid the traps, but also you can enjoy the rewards, I think really you could say, of having that relationship with the true Christ, or God through the true Christ. It's all part of it. There's tremendous power in that as well. That's all I want from this. So that's it. It's donations only, and the details will be going on the website very soon. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching, and find out as much as you can. See what's going on. Act lawfully. Act peacefully. Act how Christ would act. Thank you for watching. Speak to you soon.